Hind. I Cadet Mukta Tripathi from 8 Maharashtra Girls Battalion, Patkar Birthday Unit representing Mumbai A Group would like to introduce you about the unsung warrior queen that was Rani Abbakka Chota. Now, as we all know, the Arabian Sea, the water splashes on the shores of Ullal, which was near Mangaluru in Karnataka, could tell you the story of Abbakka Rani, locally known as Abbakka Mahadevi. She was the very first woman in history to confront, fight, and repeatedly defeat the Portuguese. Fleet of the Indian Coast Guard of short patrolling vessels bears the name of the queen from present day, that is Karnataka's coast. She was one of the female admirals of India who gave the Portuguese a bloody nose in the sea and on her lands. Rani Abbakka's unflagging bravery and fortitude are at par with the legendary Ranis like Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi, Rani Rudramadevi, Rani Kittur Chennamma. While Rani Jhansi has become a symbol of courage, Abbakka, nearly 300 years predecessor, has been forgotten by this history. Now, Portuguese. Her furious war with Portuguese are not well recorded. Yet, much before this, she was the one of the earliest freedom fighters of India who revolted against the foreign invaders and colonialization. The year was 1498. Since 7th century, maritime trade, mostly in spices, textiles and war horses, had flourished between communities of India's western coast, Arabian Peninsula. The Portuguese finally became the first Europeans to find the sea routes. Ullal's fearless warrior queen, Rani Abbakka Chota, a strong administrator, a benevolent ruler, dominated the mid-16th century CE, Tulunadu, valiantly driving the Portuguese away from her land. The Portuguese, who set their strong foot in 15th and 16th century in Goa and Vasai, turned towards Karnataka, which was a hotbed for spice trade. Rani Abbakka belonged to Chota dynasty, who ruled over the town of Mudabidri and part of Ullal. In 1526, the Portuguese captured the Mangaluru port. Their next target was Ullal. The fiercely independent princes had been trained in sword fighting, archery, cavalry military, strategy diplomacy, and all other subjects of statecrafts from a very young age. When Abbakka was crowned the Queen of Ullal, she was deeply aware of the threat posed by Portuguese presence on the coast and equally determined to resist it with all she had. Before death of Nirmala Raya, he had arranged a strategical marriage alliance for Abbakka with Lakshmanappa Bangaraja, the ruler of Mangaluru. However, the marriage broke down when Bangaraja compromised with the Portuguese. With an eye on Ullal's trade was flourished under the Queen Abel leadership, and Portuguese were trying to extract tributes and taxes from Rani Abbakka, and she refused, and her ships continued to trade with Arabs. Despite attacks by the Portuguese from Mangaviras and Bilao archers to Mapula Ornums, people of all caste and religion found a place in her army and navy. First battle was in 1555, a Portuguese fleet being commanded with an envoy under the command of Don Alvaro de Silveira set against Rani Abbakka, who refused to pay them the tributes but were defeated miserably. 2 years later, in 1567, a punitive expedition was sent against her by the Portuguese governor under João Peixoto. The Portuguese army attacked Ullal under General Peixoto. General with his fleet of soldiers attacked with a larger force and was able to ransack the settlement of Ullal to some extent. Now, as he captured, the queen tried to escape and hide in a mosque. In the dead of night, with 200 soldiers, she raided the Portuguese and managed to kill the general. Along with the general, they killed 70 more soldiers. The invaders fled to their ships. She followed and killed the admiral of the fleet. However, Rani Abbakka's battle tactics and diplomatic strategies, she collaborated with the Arabs and Samudri Korikat to push Portuguese back once again. The queen, who had to escape, counterattacked on the same night and killed the general. Inspired by the bravery, soldiers of Ullal fought the Portuguese soldiers, killing some and forcing others to leave the Mangalore fort in 1568. Local folklore sings of Abbakka's fire arrows against her enemy, which was also known as Agni Bana. Several attempts to stop their direct international and domestic trade were made by the Portuguese, but Abbakka Chota refused to bow. She traded on her own terms for the benefit of her own kingdom and forged alliances with the Zamorin of Calicut, the Sultans of Bijapur and Ahmednagar. against the Portuguese. In 1581, 3,000 Portuguese troops, supported by an army of battleships, attacked Ullal in a surprise spray-down attack. Rani was returning from a visit to a family temple and was caught off guard, but she immediately mounted her horse and rode in the battle. What happened? Leading her troops in a fierce counter offensive, her piercing battle cry, "Save the motherland, fight them on the land and sea, fight them on the streets and the benches," pushed them back to the waters, echoed through the winds as she and her soldiers fired flaming arrows at the Portuguese ships, while many of the ships in the Portuguese armor burned at night. She revolted and died fighting like a soldier. However, her legacy lived on through her equally fierce and brave daughters who continued to defend Tulunadu from Portuguese, a warrior queen who gave her life in defense of her freedom and motherland. Rani Abaca remained a major thorn in the Portuguese side. Apart from statues and postal stamps, the valor of this warrior queen was commemorated by the Indian Coast Guard in 2009 by launching ICGS Rani Abaca, a first in the series of 5 inshore patrol vessels at Vizag. Jai Hind.